One day while I was singing, I would kind of perform, some sexy songs for the girls, and then one day she jumped on stage and she's like, "Oh my God, you're amazing!" And I'm like, I didn't know who she was. She had
What?
released she hadn't released the Back to Black album at that point, but
Yeah.
she had released the Frank album, but I didn't know who she was, and I was
Mm.
like, okay, thanks, but like I'm singing. And so she's like, no, but you're amazing. And I'm like, thanks. Like I'm singing. And like I'm looking at the bands, I'm looking at the audience, and everyone's just like looking around, like, what's going on here? And then the host, Patrick Allen, said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Amy Winehouse." She sang, and I was like, oh my God,
Right?
you're amazing. It's hard to formulate into words. Um, but it broke me. It
Mm.
broke me, but also it made me realize that tomorrow isn't promised, and so
Mm.
that life is so short,
Hmm.
and so that's what it is, and just trying to live with purpose. This recording can stay around forever and ever, and
Yeah.
somebody will be able to look at it and be able to either maybe be inspired or motivated or entertained or
Yeah.
whatever from this art that we create. I don't think I've told that story as well. I don't think I've told that story before. Yeah,
Hey,
I brought her to the hood.
hey, I got the exclusive. Thank you, Zalon. Thank you so much for your time today, Zalon. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Just feel free to take your time as long as you need. I have the time. I love your bed, like your bedroom, man. That's amazing. Like 4-poster bed, easy.
That's so funny. Stop it. Everyone mentions it when I jump on Zoom.
Listen, that is the bed of the fairy tales, man. That's like in the
That was the
movies.
goal. It was like my friend's like, "Why are you in Bali?" And I was like, "Listen, you have to supply it everywhere."
Yeah, amazing.
Hi, Zalon, and thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast today.
My absolute pleasure. It's a real honor to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Zalon, for everybody listening, can you tell us how you first got introduced to music and what made you want to become a singer?
So, music has always been a big part of my life. My dad was a reggae artist in the 70s.
Wow.
He was amongst the artists that helped to bring reggae to the world. And then my stepdad was in Aswad,
Wow.
and they were really popular as well.
Mhm.
So I don't actually remember a time where I didn't want to be a singer. I always knew that singing was the constant. So if for example we had like I went to the doctor, I used to tell mom I want to be a doctor. And if a gardener came, if a gardener came to, do something in the garden, I wanted to be a gardener but singing was always constant. So I don't think there was a time where I didn't want to be a singer.
That's so beautiful to hear. I love that. I too also have a passion and an affiliation with music. So I used to sing myself and used to go to the Brit School. So, yeah,
You're so lucky.
it was an amazing school.
Before you go into that, I didn't know about the Brit School until many, many years afterwards. And
Really?
I figured out and found my way in the end, but
Yeah.
I really wish I went to Brit School because it sounds so like you can just do music all day. Like
Literally.
and
It was
so
like
much
the
time for
best 2
people.
years.
Yeah, sorry. Continue.
It was so good. It's all good. So, Amy Winehouse is truly one of my favorite artists of all time. She inspired me so much as an artist, as a songwriter. Her pen game was so affluent and truthful and raw. Every word she wrote and sang literally struck a chord with listeners all around the world. So, can you take us back to the day where you first met Amy? Where were you? What was that first conversation like? And how did you become her backing singer?
Such a good question again. So when I was coming up in the business, there was a club night called 10 Rooms. And every week there used to be a different celebrity. So one week would be like Black Eyed Peas, Will Smith, Pharrell Williams. And I basically went on and I would perform there. And one day while I was singing, I would kind of perform, some sexy songs for the girls. And then one day she jumped on stage and she's like, "Oh my God, you're amazing." And I'm like, I didn't know who she was. She had released She hadn't released the Back to Black album at that point, but
Yeah.
she had released the Frank album, but I didn't know who she was. And I was like, okay, thanks, but like, I'm singing. And so she's like, no, but you're amazing. And I'm like, thanks. Like, I'm singing. And like, I'm looking at the bands, I'm looking at the audience, and everyone's just like looking around, like, what's going on here? And then the host, Patrick Allen, said, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Amy Winehouse. She sang, and I was like, oh my God,
Right.
you're amazing. And so since that moment, she would always come down because she was a fan of mine. And she would, she would always come down and we would just kind of go to the corner, leave everybody and just sing together and just like have that moment. And so when I think she kind of disappeared for about maybe 9 months or so. And somebody called me up and asked me if I would go on the road with her. And I said, no. I said, no, I wouldn't do it.
Why?
Because especially at that time, if you're pigeonholed into, if people have you as an idea in their head and saying you're a backing singer, they wouldn't invest in you and for you to ultimately be a star. So in the short term, I'll be doing backing singing, but in the long term, it means that nobody would take me seriously as an artist. And as an artist, I always, since I was a little kid, that's always been the biggest passion of mine. So when they asked me, I said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not a backing singer. And then so she calls me up. She's like, baby, will you come on the road with me? And I was like, all right then. It was supposed to be for 6 months, and it ended up being something like 6 years. But she never forgot that I always wanted to be an artist. So she gave me like 15 minutes in the middle of her world tour. She signed me to her label.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask about that.
Yeah, she what else did she do? And she just so much. She's just done so much for me. Yeah.
Wow, she's so magical. And that leads on to my next question. How did it feel having someone like her, so incredibly talented and ahead of her time musically, be a fan of you and want you to play such a huge role in her career? How did that feel?
It was just mutual respect. I mean, she didn't really believe in the hype of celebrity.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to see, because when you're around somebody who isn't fazed by the whole, they're not clout chasing, they're not trying to get fame, they're not trying to do these things. You kind of don't really care about that, and then you kind of are connected to their pure essence. So it's just about a mutual respect for our art form, and that's all it was.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow, that's so magical. And next question, you were also signed to Amy's Lioness Records label. What did it mean to you to have her believe in you as an artist and allow you to pursue your dreams with her guidance? What was that like?
It was incredibly, life-changing. I grew up in an area called Harlesden where we never had a lot of opportunities, when I was growing up, it was a rich community of the Caribbean and Irish community, but there was a lot of shootings and guns and drugs and things that was happening in the area as well. So it was very challenging growing up, and many people who started music who were very talented eventually gave up just because of the pressures of life. And I kept on going. So to have someone to believe in me and to stand for me and to make people take me seriously, you have to understand, as I said, as a child, it's been something that I had wanted for so long, that to have somebody to support me was just incredible. And she supported me because she saw how focused I was. So like, for example, when I got my money from the tour, I would hire her band in the studio, like a big studio. And so she has selected some of the best musicians that she had come across. So now you have, at that time when you have a backing singer, you look at it as a backing singer, you're just a backing singer. That's kind of the feel in the industry of the artist is the main thing. The backing singer of the band, they're just like this.
So
for once I started investing in myself, that's when everyone was like, whoa, like he's serious. Yeah. So let's take him more seriously. And so it's like me creating that and investing in myself meant that people could take me more seriously, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's so true about a life lesson. Like when you invest in yourself and pursue your own talents, other people around you will start seeing it and be like, hang on a second, this guy's really taking this to the next level, and they'll start to want to invest in you too. So that's a really good
Absolutely.
lesson for everybody.
Especially, you have to remember at that time, social media wasn't so present in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So the investment always came from the label. You always presumed that the label would be the one who would fork the money up in
Yeah,
order to grow a career. So
yeah,
when you're doing it, it's kind of a bit like, oh, okay, now it's normal. Now we're
yeah.
also self-sufficient, but we didn't have the tools to be able to do that back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, such an incredible story. And she also signed her goddaughter, Dion Bromfield, to
Yeah.
Lioness Records also. And I loved her music so much. How is she? And have you been in contact with her throughout the years at all?
I haven't been in contact. I mean, I think Amy was the glue that
Hmm.
allowed many people was around Amy. And then when she passed, unfortunately, everybody kind of went to their separate ways.
Yeah.
So I haven't really, occasionally, I've spoken, I can't remember the last time I've spoken to her. So I don't really know, if I'm honest. And obviously, I hope that she's doing really well. Everything's all good, but
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't really know much about what she's up to.
Yeah, life just
Yeah.
gets in the way. That's completely understandable. And the news of Amy's passing resonated so deeply with everyone around the world. I mentioned earlier that I attended the Brit School, and I remember we had our 20th anniversary going on the same day. And I remember coming off stage and hearing about the passing, and literally my whole class, we all went backstage and we started breaking down crying. It was such a terrible time for all of us, especially knowing that she went to that school and what she achieved. She was like one of our heroes in that sense. What effect did hearing such sad news have on you and your life as you were so, so close to her?
Wow, beautiful question. It was life changing.
Mm,
Um, Number one, firstly, I just want to say that it was one of the greatest honors working with Amy, and I sincerely mean that.
yeah.
I knew that whilst being with her, that she would be remembered for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's just that there's something within her spirit and her soul that I could just tell the impact that it would have,
Mm,
for a long time. And so Amy, you know, she was so unique. I don't know if I'll ever meet anybody like her.
mm-hmm.
Um, it's really it's hard to formulate into words. Um, but it broke me. It
Mm,
broke me, but also it made me realize that tomorrow isn't promised, and so
mm,
we have to do our best in order to live our best moment now and to show the ones that we love and care for to tell them that now.
most definitely.
So yeah, so that's kind of what it really taught me. And as I mentioned to you before we started recording this, is that my sister Anika passed away 2 years after that. And
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of reaffirmed once again
Mm,
about that life is so short.
mm-hmm.
And so that's what it is. And just trying to live with purpose and to think bigger than just my life and my just me, just thinking about the world and the contribution that we can have to this world.
Yeah.
Because you see, let me tell you something. We um we aren't going to be here forever, but something like this recording can stay around forever and ever. And
Yeah.
somebody will be able to look at it and be able to either maybe be inspired or motivated or entertained or
Yeah.
whatever from this art that we create. So I feel like in our lifetime, we should try to create as much content and art and to capture a moment and feelings and inspiration as possible.
I love that message. I love that. And I'm so happy for you that you got to experience working with somebody like Amy. I'm a fan of music first, and having her as one of my heroes and inspirations, I know how her music resonated so deeply with me and everybody else that really understood it. So for you to have that side by side daily, that's a massive, massive thing to have in your life. So I'm so happy for you that you got to experience that firsthand.
Thank you very much.
More than welcome. What was the greatest lesson that you learned from Amy? Do you have any great moments or stories that perhaps you haven't told anyone yet? That's super fun or something.
Well, firstly, the first thing that one of the greatest lessons was authenticity.
Mm,
So there was a time when I was trying to do stuff to be famous. So I try create like, okay, I'm going to do this pop song because this has the chorus and this and this is that, and none of it worked for me. And when I was just when I kind of tapped into the music that I listened to growing up and what inspired me, I grew up listening to 90s R&B, but then
yeah.
their heroes were Motown. When I discovered Motown, I discovered Marvin Gaye.
Oh,
And then that helped me to be like create art from a place of like being at peace whether someone likes it or not. I
Yeah.
wasn't trying to create a hit. And when I
Yeah.
done that, more people gravitated towards me. And it allowed for my career to grow internationally and be able to tour and all these kind of things.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you have any like stories about her? Like, what was her favorite thing to do or favorite food?
She liked to play pool a lot. So I brought her to the hood one time.
Did you to Halsden?
Yeah, I brought her to Halsden.
What?
People don't know that though.
Eh,
We was coming off of tour one time, and we got the tour bus, and the tour bus landed in Halsden, and I got a curry goat and rice from one of the West Indian shops.
yes. Did she like it?
She loves it. That's her thing. So yeah, I brought her down. So there was like a massive tour bus. I think I have a picture of it somewhere
Oh,
in
I
Halsden.
love
People probably
that.
didn't know, but this was at the height of her career as well. I was like,
So
she's like,
mad.
I'm hungry. And I was like, listen, this is where we need to go. And you know, the tour bus is like a huge bus that has it's carrying loads of us. It was parked up in Halsden, you
What?
know.
Was it Dulce's that you stopped at?
No, I think
Okay.
it may have been One Stop maybe or
I
Sarpo's.
love that. Love
Sarpo's.
both of them.
It's probably Sarpo's because it would have been more than likely late at night, and at that time Sarpo's was a 24-hour shop.
I love that. I love these stories. And I love Halsden. The food, the
And
culture.
I
Rich.
don't think I've told that story as well. You know, I don't think I've told that story before. Yeah,
Hey,
I brought her to the hood.
hey, I got the exclusive. Thank you, Zalon.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Amazing. Regarding new music, are you working on any new or exciting projects that you can tell us about and that we can look forward to?
I'm not working on new music currently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing, and I'm just going to allow it to come organically.
Yeah.
But I do have other projects. So I have my own soul festival. We're in our 5th year of running a soul festival, and it's live music. It's in central London. So that's something that we've been growing year by year.
Yeah.
Additionally, in this coronavirus lockdown, I've created a book and a course. I've written a book and a course, and that is to support singers. So a lot of the things that I've done has been independently.
Yeah.
And approaching music from from a passion meets business kind of entrepreneurial style in order to have a career. So the things that I've learned, I've kind of fused it into a course and a book. So I've kind of been working on that recently. And the last 2 days, I done a podcast. I absolutely love it. So I'm now going to do a podcast called Conversations with Zalon,
What?
right? Yeah, because I feel that a lot of my conversations that I have with like friends and family on the phone or whatever it is, they're like really motivational, inspirational. And I feel that we talk about such a broad range of subjects. And I always think to myself, imagine if like people were listening to this would actually really add value. So I kind of want to do it more. So that's what I'm going to do.
I love that. I'm looking forward to Conversations with Zalon. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Tune in.
Hey, you're more than welcome. And regarding coronavirus, with everything that's going on in the world right now regarding COVID-19 and the Black Lives Matter movement, are there any positive words that you'd like to leave with our listeners about your thoughts and anything?
Run! I'm joking.
Stop it!
I'm joking. No. So the world is changing, and we need to. The world is always going to be changing. So the first thing, like watching the Bruce Lee documentaries, he's like, his concept is to be like water, forever changing, being adaptable to situations.
Yep.
So the thing is, you have to ask yourself, one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is, what can I do? So this is the situation. So what can I do? And you can also ask is, how can I do it? And those will leave the unconscious mind to be able to keep suggesting ways in order for you to overcome the challenges that you're currently facing.
That's really powerful. Thank you for that message. Are there any other exciting or like interesting shows that you're watching on Netflix or anything like that?
Well, listen, the Bruce Lee documentary is 50 episodes long, right? I'm at like 30 episodes. So like I was inspired to watch it because my friend said that he sees similarities in Bruce Lee with myself.
Wow, that's a compliment.
His approach to martial arts. So that's the reason why I've kind of got stuck into it.
Yeah.
I would say Money Heist is just, if you just want entertainment, I love Money Heist.
Okay, I'm gonna check
And
it out.
then there's a current one, what is it called? Snowpiercer, that I'm currently into.
Ooh, I
Yeah.
haven't heard of that. Sounds good.
Yeah. So it's the reason why I like it. Basically, it's a long train. The world is um, scientists have messed up the world, so everyone on the world has died, and then there's this super train that basically travels all around the world, and there's different class systems within this train. It's like 1,000 and something carriages long, and so you
Wow.
have people who are really wealthy at the top, and
Yeah.
then you have the middle class, etc., and then it goes down to the bottom class. And obviously the people at the bottom or at the end of the train have the worst conditions. And I find that obviously it's a reflection of our society and
Mm,
how society, the dichotomy between the rich and the poor, and how
hierarchy.
it all works as one organism. And so I
Mm.
find it really interesting just from a social aspect, and relating the two. So that's kind of something that I'm watching now as well, and I find it very interesting.
Ooh, I'm gonna get into this. Sounds fabulous. So, as an amazing artist yourself, who played such a pivotal role in the career of the late great Amy Winehouse, and you have such incredible memories to last you a lifetime, what does it mean to you to truly give your all or nothing?
Wow. Um, Man, I when I feel like I give my all
Mm,
is when I'm on stage. And
yeah,
when I say give my all, I mean I give so much of myself that it's almost as if I'm just channeling the energy from
yeah,
like the Almighty, you know.
yeah.
I'm not even thinking, I'm not even present. I'm just allowing it to flow through me. So that's kind of what I feel is, you know, in giving your all in that moment or nothing means, you're not connected. And
Mm,
so, yeah, that's
yeah. I love that. Leave it all on the floor and do your best all the time. And I feel like you've always
exactly.
done that, Zalon. So Amy
Yeah.
saw that in you, and your message and your legacy will just live for the test of time. It's beautiful. It really is.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. And that's the end of the interview. Thank you,
Oh,
Zalon.
amazing. So for your interview, can I ask you some questions? Just kind of flip this on its side a bit,
I'm loving this. You're the first person that's like asked to do this. So go on, hit me.
Sure. So, tell me, what was your dream as a child growing up?
My first initial dream was to be an artist. So yeah, as I said before, I was a singer-songwriter myself. I still do sing and dabble in it, but not as like prevalent as I used to before. But yeah, I went to Sylvia Young. You've heard of that school, right? Sylvia Young Theatre School. I went there when I was about 13 to 16. And then I wanted something more full-time and heard about the Brit School from a Katie Mellower interview on BBC. And so I was like, I think I should audition for the school. Bear in mind, I live in Harrow and the school's in Croydon. So I was like, this is like light years away, but I'm going to go for it. And I remember the audition, I sung Learn to Be Lonely from Phantom of the Opera. And then my teacher, I believe she taught Adele. My head of year was a lady called Liz. But 6 years before, because Adele and Jessie J was in the same year, and she was still teaching. So it was just so incredible to get the insight from such incredible teachers. And I remember my other teacher, Heather, on the interview was like, are you going to make it to school on time every day? Your train's like 2 hours. I was like, I promise you, every day I'll be on time. And she was like, okay. And then I got in and it was like the best time of my life. After that, I had a brief stint with Warner in a girl group, which was amazing. And that didn't work out too well. And then a few weeks after, I had met the head of Sony, a man called Charlie, and he offered to be my manager. So yeah, we've had some great, great career moments. I've met incredible people.
Amazing. I have an Adele story, but I'll tell you later. So, what is your ambition now?
My ambition now is, even when I was pursuing singing, I always saw myself as, when I grew into my career and I got much older to around like 45, 50, when I was around Tina Turner's age, I always promised myself that I wanted to have my own chat show because of all the relationships I've accumulated over the years. I wanted to sit down with people and ask them about their history and how they feel about music now compared to the time they started. And yeah, I just really wanted to sit down with all the friends I had made over the years. So now I'm kind of doing it in a reverse way. But I'm so looking forward to expanding my presenting, my hosting. I love engaging with people and digging and finding out their stories. I'm such a nosy person, so I love asking questions and yeah, finding inspirational stories to extract from people and spread them across the world. So that's my passion.
What would you say that you like? What lessons in all the years that you've been alive? right? An alien comes, and you've got just a few minutes to explain life.
Mm.
What would you say to that alien? How would you explain life and your experiences?
That what you give, you get back. So treat everybody with respect and spread love, and don't judge people based on things that you don't think you would do or that you wouldn't do, because everybody's walking in their own shoes and has their own story. And when you grow up later in life and you become older and you're much wiser, you'll see why people made certain decisions at a younger age. But yeah, life is energy. And if you give good energy, you'll eventually get it back. It doesn't matter if it takes 50 years or 60 years, or if your children see it and you don't live to see the day. But if you do bad and you don't treat people well, it will always come back to you. So I spread joy and spread love. That's the message I would give.
Brilliant. Fantastic. That's a really good answer.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted a few questions.
Are you practicing your podcasting?
Well, no, I was just really interested, to be honest. I think also, it gives a different spin to your interview.
It does. That's amazing. I've had like a few guests ask me like one or two questions. I interviewed Robert Rashad, Arnez from One on One. I interviewed him and he asked me a few questions, but you were like the first person to be like, right, let me sit down and ask you. So thanks.
Cool. Let me ask you, I'm going to ask you I'm going to throw a couple of words out.
Oh gosh, I'm scared.
Don't be scared. I'm going to throw a couple of words out, and I want you to you're speaking to this alien again,
okay,
and you're going to explain what your perception of that word means.
Okay.
Happiness.
Family.
Love.
Mom.
Hope.
Dreams.
It can be a few words, or it can be a word, or it can be a sentence. Is fine, but whatever you feel, whatever comes up is fine. Peace.
Inner peace and balance.
Pain.
Not fulfilling your potential.
Regret.
Not doing the things that you know you should be doing.
Tomorrow.
Might not come. So do what you want to do tomorrow, today. Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Past. Learn from it and move forward.
Wealth.
Happiness.
Poverty.
Lack of peace.
War.
Inner conflict.
Politics.
Don't hurt anybody.
Religion.
Whatever you want it to be, as long as it's good.
Okay. Brilliant. See, it wasn't hard.
Thank you, Zalon. I don't know what kind of question that was, but I mean, I'm here for it.
Good. Awesome.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time today.
Listen, it's an absolute pleasure. I'd recommend to keep all of that in.
Of course I'm going to keep it in.
Oh,
I'm not interviewing me. This is like the highlight of my day, of course.
Okay, brilliant. Well, yeah, my absolute pleasure.
Yay, thank you, Zalon. And I will so tell you when it's up and tag you and everything. Thank you for your time.
Please do. Okay. Perfect. Take care. Lots of love.
You too. Bye.
Anytime, listen, I'll be back. Anytime you want, just hit me up and we'll do this again, okay?
Oh, thank you, Zalon. Much love. Take care.
Take care. Ciao.
Bye. Bye.